I'm so sorry that we are a bit late, but that is that's a curse of being broadcasting live. And we also have to change our guest. So on the screens it says Chris, but it's not Chris, it's Omer. Hey, Omer.
Hey, how are you?
I am good.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, you are basically a company that makes you look so great. So is it a garment that has been produced by Kornit, or?
Of course it is. It was produced by Kornit sustainably. It's what we do.
And let's dive directly into it. I was in Israel some years ago talking to one of your colleagues, we talked about the sustainability agenda, because actually the textile industry is one of the most polluting in the world, right?
That's true, yeah.
But you have the solution for it, right?
Yes. So the solution for it is not only the technology itself, which obviously is sustainable with everything that we do. So it starts from the chemicals that we use, the inks that we develop and produce ourselves, but it's also the process itself that is dry and most sustainable in the industry. It's a single-step process, so you don't rely on any outside processes. This is why we can actually rely on the sustainability. But more so, it's the overall impact that we can create on fashion and the world and sustainability in general, and that is because we advocate for the on-demand production. So our entire technology, our entire ecosystem, our customers are working on demand. On demand is the best answer for the sustainability challenges of fashion.
Yeah, because I mean, people will not stop using clothes, of course. So basically, So basically, it's more making it as sustainable as possible. I remember, because one of the questions I think a lot of people always ask is saying that, well, the reason why we have industrialization, the reason why we have mass production is mainly because you get the cost down of the last piece to close to zero, basically, right? But the case is basically that if you look at the ecosystem and the eco-cycles of the textile production today, basically you trash a lot of things. So it is not the last t-shirt you actually cost, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Because at the end of the cycle, about 80% of every apparel made finds itself in landfill. And in the way it's being done right now, you have a 30% overproduction that is baked in the model as is, because you built to inventory, you don't know what people are going to buy. Because in the past day, you used to control the trends. Now nobody controls the trends anymore. And this is why you have to overproduce, 30% overproduction. That 30% overproduction, we need to talk about this, because this is an amazing process that we are
It looks so great, yeah. We will get into it. We have plenty of time,
absolutely.
Don't worry.
So that 30% alone of overproduction is responsible for 145 trillion liters of water waste a year.
Fantastic.
Okay, that is 16 years drinking water for the entire world's population, just for the overproduction. So on-demand is the answer. There is a big gap to close, because the industry works in a completely different way. We truly believe that disruptive technology is the bridge to close this gap.
One of the things I can't help think about is that, I mean, obviously, I totally agree with you on the on-demand thing. But another thing that I think is also quite imperative is that when you talk about on-demand production, it's also about distribution. And one of the companies that I also know influences a lot of things with you is, of course, the Amazon, because now it's not just about the on-demand production, but it's also the fact that you can buy and get things shipped conveniently, easy and fast, right?
Absolutely. So I think that the front end, the consumers, us people, it's not about consumers, but people that use fashion as a tool for...
He's bragging with all the good samples here, right? I mean,
he's good. He knows what he's doing.
So he got his salary this month. Okay.
So it's the front end is full digital, guys. There is a digital transformation taking place in the front end. The consumers, the people are there. The designers, the people that actually buy clothes and wear them are all digital. The production means remain analog. This is the gap that we're trying to close. This is the gap that we advocate of closing. And I think we're lucky enough as a company to sit exactly in that crossroad of the digital and the analog, which really enable us to make an impact, to really transition an industry, step by step, as always is the case, but to a new world, basically. So yes, it's about that front end that is fully digital. I want to see a gazillion different shirts when I go online, and no matter which one I choose, I want to get it next day, or same day, or next day, same day, whatever it is. And that creates a lot of pressure.
One of the things I like a lot about Kornit is also when I see, you could think that, okay, you want to sell your equipment and you sell your inks and all your consumables and all your ideas to the existing industry, but basically you also offer to go to designers directly. I remember that showcase from New York where you had like a design shop basically in the middle of Manhattan doing things like this. Another thing is also that the way that you approach the market, I think it was just a few weeks ago, you had a fashion show in Tel Aviv and in London last week. So you're basically also pushing a little bit the traditional boundaries of how you advocate technology, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it all comes from the understanding that technology is a means to an end. We don't do this for the technology. The technology is just our way of disrupting the status quo of fashion in the industry and really moving it and transitioning it digitally to where it needs to be, to sustainable and on demand. And in a sense, it's our attempt to really embed ourselves within that industry, because it's it's one thing to stand from the outside. Hey, you've been doing this wrong all these years. You need to do it this way.
That's so easy, right?
Yeah, it's easy, and it doesn't have the impact that we need and want to make. So this is where we embed ourselves within the industry, really trying to change it from within, really to understand it, and also, and this is super important, if you really want to disrupt something, you really need to know it. You can't just say, hey, it's disruptive. No, it's not disruptive. If you really don't understand the process itself, then you can disrupt it. So, yes, this is why we're not traditionally, positioning ourselves, hey, we sell technology because this is what we do. No, we really are true believers in changing the world, and technology is just our way of doing it.
I think it would be fun to see a little bit about the technology, but before we do that, I remember when I was in Israel visiting you a couple of years ago, I think that at that time you were inventing a new bonding agent, basically make sure that you could make more little softer print on your textile. Is that remembered correctly? Or
yeah, that's true.
Is that where you are now, or that you're way past that?
That's a long time ago.
A long time ago.
No, actually,
so where are you now when it comes to the actual feeling and sense of the textile today?
So we always improve, and again, I think that improvement is what really kind of like gets us one application at a time, another vertical, another application, because fashion, apparel, home decor, it's really big words. You really need to segment it.
You see it here everywhere, right?
So you really need to segment, and you really need to understand what needs to be done. So also, we're talking about digital transformation. We're talking about doing on demand, sustainable. Not everything needs to be on demand. Not everything is supposed to be on demand. It's like there are categories that are prone to that, and this is where we're focusing. So yes. So from a handful perspective.
But you can make 2 T-shirts if you like at the same time, right?
Of course. So yeah, we have progressed dramatically since then, and I'll be happy to walk you through and
we are here with the Atlas Max Poly. That sounds amazing. What is it?
It is. Okay, so the Atlas Max Poly is actually our next, second generation of our poly decoration process. There is a big gap and a big challenge in decorating polyester. When decorating polyester, any technique of decorating polyester requires heat. That creates a phenomenon that is called dye migration, which basically means that you have to overcome it. We have a very, very different approach to that. We actually created a unique process that doesn't require high heat for curing. So that we, instead of actually overcoming an issue, we are actually completely bypassing it. Now that was very technical, but what it means...
I was just wondering what you meant, but I was just trying to play, okay, I pretend to know what he talks about.
Yeah, but what it means basically is that we can actually decorate any type of polyester, whether it's blended or not, whether it's brush poly or not. We can create a completely different and unique array of applications that you can see here. You have neons here, you can do a digital semi-transparency design. We have, in our Max technology, we have what we call XDI, which is the extra dimension. We can actually print in 3D and create decorations that, on the one hand, can transform analog processes to digital processes, meaning, for example, if with analog you do vinyl heat transfer, we can actually completely simulate that process digitally with digital printing. Like here, for example, it looks like a sticker, but this is actually printed. But also, we can actually create a completely new array of applications that cannot be done any other way. Let's try and find some.
I have some great samples.
You want
yeah, let's go and
try
check them out.
Look at some. So, for example, this one with semi-transparencies, you can't do any other way. This is fully digital. This is, of course, a light fabric, but so you can't see it. But here you can feel it. These are kind of like different levels of.
So this is also printed.
Yeah, everything here is printed.
So was that printed in the same machine? So
Yes,
so it can
everything
print
is
on
in
the
the same
edges, or is it just how you stretch it, or?
It's how you position it. It's depending on pallets.
Okay.
So it's the standard industry colors, but also if you can see here neons.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to show you, okay, this for example is
But
super unique.
Omar, can I ask a question? Because
Yes, of course you
maybe
can.
a stupid question, but
There are no stupid questions, just stupid answers. Trust me on this one.
okay. But let me ask you a question then, because if you look at, let's say, the pink one here, for example, right?
Yeah.
That is dyed traditionally first, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically now you add a process. So that is a little bit against the sustainability thing you talked about, right? I mean, the ideal would be to print everything, right?
That is true.
Okay.
However,
is it too expensive, or is it too time consuming, or?
it is too expensive and it's too time consuming.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, you say there is a starting point.
There has
with
to be a
anything.
starting
Yeah.
point. Now, this is where I think it's super important that we talk sustainability. We look at the big picture.
Of course, understand that.
And
But-
this is
but-
something very, very important.
Okay.
Now, let me
Okay.
explain. If this is printed traditionally, not on demand,
Yeah.
then this shirt has a lot of friends that will never get sold. There's going to be 30% overproduction just for this shirt.
I totally get it. I
And-
was just trying to understand whether I was right in my perception.
Yes,
so that was like,
absolutely.
okay,
But our way of making sure that these shirts will never go to waste and just printed and shipped to the consumers that actually desire them is to put that on demand. Yes.
Yeah.
In our view, as a holistic view,
Yeah.
yes, you're completely right. We
Yeah.
have to look at everything from cradle to cradle.
Yeah.
But right now, it's step by step.
But of course, I mean, if you took it to that first extent, you would even ask whether you do polyester kind of thing,
Absolutely.
right? So, but I don't, I understand where your point is, and I totally agree that, I mean, the waste, the surplus, the interesting thing is also when we talk financial is that it will also influence the fashion industry from the perspective that you don't have to. I mean, let's say that you have to overprice the first 30%, and then you can discount the last 80% or
Yeah.
70%,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it will potentially give a more equal
What it does,
pricing, right?
yeah. So what it does from the commercial perspective, it does a few things. So if you want to, like, the bottom line is that you never run out of bestsellers,
Yeah.
and you never get stuck with unsold inventory. Okay, so that's kind of like the bottom line.
That's a good starting point, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's an amazing side. It's
Yeah.
also an amazing bottom line.
And I was thinking about it's also an amazing selling point for investing in this technology, right?
It's an amazing,
Yeah.
and this works for brands. Now, another thing is that what happens here is it can actually, well, you have like a full price sell-through window, right?
Yeah.
So you start something and you have a full price, and then very, very fast you start kind of like discounting, and then you do that. Why? Because
You're afraid of your inventory.
the trends are getting shorter and shorter and
Yeah,
shorter.
yeah.
What that allows you to actually react all the time. So
Now you can react to, like with digital print on paper, you can basically react
and
to
what we
demand
do as
instantly.
well is that we can actually, right now what we did is we invested a lot in being able to simulate and emulate analog decoration. What you can do right now, and we have customers doing this, that you have the first batch comes from China, Bangladesh, or whatever it is, and then digitally you can actually copy that. It runs off the shelf, you copy it digitally, and then you have really, really fast replenishment.
So basically you can
on-site.
have a lower print run analog, and then you can have the digital ones that are exact same.
And this is the idea behind it. I mean, to stand here and it's like what I said before. You have to embed yourself within the industry. To say that everything is going to be on demand, digitally produced, it's just unrealistic.
But don't question my motive for asking. I totally understand what you're saying. I was just trying because when I saw it, I was just like, looks pretty cool. And
no, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about the fact that when you start getting embedded into the industry, understand you really need to optimize what we have and not just change everything.
Precisely.
Because things are going to be printed analog, which is fine. We just need to optimize it on the sustainable side of things, on the commercial side of things, and also on the social side of things.
Let's go and see some of the other stuff you have on the booth here. Where should we go? This way?
Yeah, why not? Okay. So let's go from the outside, but here everything obviously was printed on Kornit, so home
of course,
decor, so and that actually takes us to the Presto Max.
Looks so cool, this both the machines, but especially the output, I must say.
Yeah, so let's go from the other side, and then we'll be able to see the output. Okay, so this is the Presto Max. Maybe if we stand over there, it will be better because you'll see the controls. But let's start from it.
Yeah.
So this is the Presto Max. So that one was the Atlas Max Pauling. This is the Presto Max. So let's talk a little bit about the Max. So the Max is our newest generation of printing engine, which basically is all about quality, quality, quality. I think that in many aspects, digital printing for fashion had its niche. You know, it had its niche where it was really, really good, but it didn't really expand beyond that because of a lot of limitations. A lot of them are quality limitations. The idea behind the Max printing engine is to actually, you know, break those barriers, break those challenges, and actually really start working with the highest brand standards.
Yeah.
And this is what we have here. So we have retail quality, high retail quality. We have unique applications. Here with the Presto Max, we have actually white printing of dark fabric.
Fantastic.
Which is something that also a lot more sustainable, right? Because usually what you have to do is you have to print everything and then
Except
the white. Yeah. So what we do is we actually print white on dark fabrics.
And you have that softness that,
yeah, this is actually crepe, so it's the same here. Again, if you see here, this one. Neon, so it has white on dark fabric, it has neons, it has the Max capabilities. Some of it is what we call XDI, the extra dimension. So here, it's going to be difficult, but if you touch it, it looks exactly like embroidery, right?
Oh, yeah.
This was printed, guys.
Yeah.
This
Nice.
is the XDI that I was telling you about, the XDI.
Yeah, so you had like the
application.
3D kind of...
So this is printed.
yeah.
What we actually do is we actually have also a software, we call it Digitize, that can actually simulate different types of stitches and embroidery effects. And you can actually use printing. Again, this is why I said we use this for decoration, not only for printing. It can actually emulate a lot of different things.
When you have this kind of technology, is that UV based then?
No.
Because you have always been your water based, right?
It's water based.
Yeah, I was
This
just
is water based.
because I was just thinking that when you have layers, I thought that you needed to dry the layer before you get to the next one.
This is water based.
Okay.
One of the key capabilities that we have here is we have the capability to fixate the ink on the slide.
So you can
Not
fix
with
it
UV.
2 times.
Not
or,
with UV.
Yeah.
Not with UV. It's
Yeah.
not cured.
Yeah.
Like with UV, it has to be cured here.
Yeah.
But it is fixated. It's not moving around. This is what enables us to actually build layers.
Yeah. So the modular curing system, is that more like still like heat?
It's dry heat.
Yeah.
It's just dry heat, and that cures the ink on the fabric.
Yeah.
But because we can control it in fluid form,
Yeah.
this is how we can build layers on top of layers. This is why we can create all these unique capabilities. And that's the uniqueness of the process of Kornit in general.
So-
this is why it's a single step.
So how is the fashion industry? I mean, they must be just like crazy. I mean, you can be a designer and then you can make your own fabrics, and 10 minutes later you have a dress kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So with designers, it's an interesting journey. So we're technology geeks. We come from technology. This is what we do, and this
That's true.
whole world of designers is.
And then you have designers that likes to write with that drawing, right?
It's new for us as well.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting relationship because it always starts a very similar way and ends a very similar way. And it starts with kind of like trying to understand, oh, can you do that? No. Can you do this? No. Can you do it in this format? No. Can you write this? No. And then once you understand what are the capabilities of the technology, and then you unlock the potential, and then this creativity goes out, just flies, and it's amazing. And as you said, as you mentioned before, one of the best ways for us to actually learn and demonstrate it is with the platform that we created, which is the Kornit Fashion Week, which is a platform for us to
You can also showcase customers basically,
to
right?
really convey the message for an alternative fashion industry, which is sustainable and inclusive and diversified. And this is how we came to start, creating that platform, which we believe is an amazing way of conveying this.
I have a question, and I know you're probably running out of time. I'm just it's so fantastic talking to you. I mean, when I look at, for example, this one, right, where you see that it's basically really nice cloth you get out of it, right? I mean, if you then want to make like a T-shirt or a dress or anything like that, will you still need to hand sew it, or is that technology that is also starting to get automated? I mean, to have true demand, basically you enter your measures and you make your design, and then it comes out automated, right?
Yeah. So we invest a lot in automation,
but not in that segment, right? Or you could be.
We're looking at that segment as well, but to be honest, it's crazy. It's automating sewing on different silhouettes, on different fabrics.
Must be so difficult, right?
It's a crazy challenge. In general, I can tell you that automation, not us Kornit, us as humanity, we're super good in automation when it comes to rigid objects, but when it comes to like objects like textile, it's becoming super difficult. So yes, this is the holy grail. You're absolutely right. But in the meantime, what we do is we do it differently. So we in every automation, it's about what do you want to do? Do you want to replace the person, or do you want to assist them? So what we're doing right now is we're trying to assist the people that actually do that. And it's interesting, you know, there are people that know, there are makers everywhere. And that's insane. It's like you have food and agriculture everywhere. You know, even Hong Kong, people grow their food on the rooftop. Same with clothing. You know, same with textile. There are makers, designers, and makers, and people that make it everywhere. And our job is to make it easier for them. So it's not about. I think it's going to take a while since, you know, full-blown, full-scale automation will replace in sewing, because it is difficult. There are, you know, buds here and there, but it's a vision for the future.
Last question. Sorry to interrupt you. It was I was just like, who are your customers for this equipment?
That's a super interesting question. So we've seen a huge change in the last few years in customers. You know,
because that has changed Kornit as well, right? Because your starting point was more on the
dramatically. That has changed us dramatically, and it's a journey. And what's interesting about this journey is that. We always add additional target audiences, but we don't really lose the old ones, which actually makes it interesting. So I would say that up until about 5 years ago or something like that, our most successful customers were textile decorators that were, I would say, tech savvy. That understood that the future isn't digital and they need to separate themselves from the pack and, you know, need to be ahead of the curve. But that completely changed. I think that in the last 5-6 years or something like that, our most successful customers are actually IT.
Oh, really?
IT companies. People that come
Who should have saw that, right?
People that come for e-com. People that understand that on-demand, sustainable fashion in the e-com, in the digital ecosystem is just an amazing vertical. These are the Amazons of the world, or the Printfuls of the world, or a lot of other companies. And most of them are actually coming from the technology side, from the e-com side, from unique business models that run on e-com. And I think that creates a full array, in a sense, of different target audiences, because again, think about fashion. I mean, it's the most diverse, you know, industry out there. It talks to everybody. There are different designers, different target audiences. So I think that diversity, we also starting to see that more and more in our, in our target audience and our customers.
But it's interesting because from that perspective, it might change the entire value chain from how you produce clothing, right? Because basically, it's like the new print.
There's not a question if. There's a question of how exactly and how fast. That's it. Now, not everything. As I said, there are verticals that are going to transport completely. There are verticals that are going to remain analog. But in the verticals that are going to transform, they are going to transform. Absolutely.